Good evening, everyone. It's Lindsey Rundell here to talk a little bit about my personal family tree tonight. First of all, I was a little trepid about this assignment. When I first delved into the details of it, because I only have a few points of contact in my family that I felt I could get some good, valuable information from. But now that I'm on the other side of that information, it's been extremely fun to have my conversations with my grandmother and my grandfather and both of my parents. There's a lot of information that I have found that's interesting. And anyway, it's just been really cool to see their perspectives on the decades before me. Anyway, so I thought I'd just stop at the top with my grandfather's grandfather, up with the Shaw family. The Shaw family is of Irish descent. They are electricians and farmers. My grandfather is one of seven. I think there's one sister, and the rest are all brothers. So that's pretty interesting. Pretty big family there. And I think his mother's family had some Cherokee Indian descent in there, which was also neat. The Teal family, they were actually sharecroppers after the end of slavery. They worked on a farm down in South Georgia. So that's pretty neat. And then coming to my grandmother's side of the family, the Smith side, they were also sharecroppers, believe it or not. And they were very poor, had very little education. The Johnson side, my mother's side of the family, they were landowner farmers over in Hall County, which is not too far from me right now. And actually, their farm is buried under Lake Lanier. Which I thought was interesting information. She often talks about how she wishes she could go visit, but of course she can't because it's covered up by the lake. My grandmother was one of four siblings, so her family was a little bit smaller than my grandfather's growing up. Moving on down to my mother's side of the family, the Corley side. My grandfather's father, Robert Harvey Sr., was an Atlanta police officer, and he went, after he served several years as a police officer, he went on to law school to be an attorney. And my great grandmother, Cleva, my mom's grandmother, she worked at the Atlanta Water Department. So they were somewhat upper class and more of a professional family. And then my grandmother's family, I don't have as much information on their occupations or their sibling count. It was more lacking on my mom's side of the family. You see more categories filled in. Up on my dad's side of the family, I just didn't have as much information to fill in. But I do know that my grandmother was a housewife, and my grandfather was self-employed. So my grandfather on my mother's side was one of two, and also my grandmother on my mother's side, my maternal grandmother, she was one of two also. Moving on to my parents, Jeffrey Jackson and Kimberly Kay. They are both educators. My father is a music educator for middle school in South Georgia, and my mother is an educator in Hall County. She is a gifted educator in middle school. So that leads me to myself aspiring to be a gifted educator as well. I thought it was interesting to note both of my parents were one of three. And one thing I learned about my family is my entire family is from the general Atlanta area. I kept asking, where was so and so born? And then everybody is from Georgia. So that was pretty neat to see. There's no Northerners or Westerners. Pretty tight knit there as far as Georgia and South Georgia goes. So that was pretty cool for me. Language spoken, English for the most part, and lots of, just educators, farmers, and just overall hard workers. So that is my family in a nutshell.